All right, guys, we're live. Just waiting for some people to get here, as always, here, but I'll give you a little rock music to jam out to while we're waiting. All right, we got somebody on. Who's on? Pat's just getting logged in here. He should be online soon. Welcome to another Monday Night Live with Beth Angular. Got a bunch of stuff to talk about today here. Pat's got a lot of stories to tell us here. Even fill us in on the high school scene. We'll have a Lake Shelbyville preview here. We got BFL number 2 in the Illini division coming up this weekend, and it's going to be blazing hot from the forecast. Absolutely opposite of how it's been all spring. I saw some tournament results last weekend on Shelbyville. We'll talk about a little bit. The local little bitty, like 20 boat bass, peanut bass club here, and we'll get a bunch of tournament updates. We had an LBL event last week, and we had an Ozarks event last Saturday too here. And sounds like we got some good stories from the crew on those. Also, being Father's Day weekend, I got to show off my new swag. I'd say wear it. I got the quintessential Father's Day shirt. You know, well, we have a Chihuahua, so grandkids picked it out for me. I said I'd wear it. And I even got from the grandkids some silly lure pillows. They said, you got to put it on a live stream. I said, it'll be there on Monday night here. Hope everyone had a great Father's Day. All right. Let's see. We got Pat here. Let's bring Pat on. All right, Pat, can you hear us?
Yeah. Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for coming on. I know Jim talked about you for a while. We're kind of missing each other here, but I'm glad you're finally able to make it.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So shot you the channel. Have you watched any of videos? Do I even look familiar to you at all?
I feel like you are familiar. Have I drawn you out before?
No, you haven't drawn me out before. I've just been doing this for a few years, but I was a guy in 22. We had the super tournament on Rend Lake, and I blanked the first day, and I'm like, man, I just went to Sailboat Harbor there, you know, in Fitzgerald here, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go flip those docks, and I just catch like a 3-pounder right before you came in, and I felt bad. I was that guy. I just had to fix my ego on that one.
Yeah, that day too kind of hurt me a little bit in that one. I believe that was the one that I went in leading, and I'd kind of burned up all my stuff on day one. I didn't have anything in practice really for that one, and
yeah. What are you gonna do? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So welcome to the show. Just to get things started a little bit here. Why don't you give us a little background on yourself? Some people may know you, some people may not here. I know you've been a hammer in the Illini division for years here.
I don't know about a hammer in the Illini division. I've been fishing the Illini division. I believe I started fishing BFLs as a co back in 2008. So approaching 20 years on the BFLs. I think I did that for about 5 or 6 years before I switched over to the boater side. I kind of dabbled in the boater side back and forth a little bit before I went full boater. I think now for probably the last 6 or 7 years. I'm kind of guessing on that. I don't have a super great memory. But.
Yeah. Hey, your audio is just a little bit. Are you using the computer microphone?
I am.
Maybe you could just reposition it. Maybe just a little bit. It would help a little bit. Do you know where it is on the computer?
I believe it's up on the screen. It's a laptop, so
yeah, that's better. You're touch closer to it. It's much better. Yeah.
Okay. But no, I mean, I've been competitive bass fishing probably since I was 19 years old. I just turned 40, so just a touch over 20 years. Been doing it all together.
Yeah, 40. I remember 40. That's when like knees start hurting, back starts hurting, eyesight starts getting a little tougher on knots. That's a wonderful age.
I thought that was 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
a little bit past that, I feel like.
I just saw this medical study and they said, you don't kind of age like this. You go like this, and 44 is one and 60 is one. I just hit the 61 and I'm like, I'm not feeling it. At about 60 and a half, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it. All right. Okay. Stag beer. I like that. I collected beer cans as a kid, and I like all that old vintage beer can stuff. I still got my collection from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You do that when you were a kid, or was that long gone?
I can't say that I collected beer cans when I was a kid, but yeah.
Maybe empty beer cans, color collecting.
Yeah. I like the signs.
Yeah.
I drink plenty of beer nowadays. I don't drink Stag, but it's
a
cool sign.
Drink better, drink less as you get older, right? All right. So how'd you get started fishing? Did you grow up in the area?
I've pretty well lived Neoga is where I grew up, and I'm probably only about 6 miles from where I grew up. We're in Windsor School District now. I got a Windsor address. My dad probably got me into fishing. When I was old enough to start fishing, though, he was probably more of a meat fisherman. I mean, he taught me a little bit about bass fishing, but he was kind of a one-trick pony. He 7.5-inch fire and ice culprit was his thing. So, and that's what I learned how to fish. The first bass that I remember catching, actually fishing for bass with artificial lures, was on Lake Shelbyville at Finley Marina. It was after dark, and out in front, Dad's like, "This is a really good place to go night fishing and learn how to worm fish." And he was right; it worked.
Neat.
So I've been hooked ever since.
So Neoga, that's kind of on 57, kind of almost south of Chicago. How far are you from Shelbyville?
So Neoga is only about a half hour from Shelbyville, and Windsor's only 15 minutes. I mean, I could be to Ninth Street in 15 minutes.
Oh, that's sweet.
And we're only 10 miles away from Neoga. It's just east of here. Yeah.
Nice. So when do you start tournament fishing?
As far as in my life? Yeah. I was 18 or 19. A lot of the older guys might remember a guy by the name of Gruen von Baron. He fished BFLs. He passed it. I want to say it's been close to 8 to 10 years ago now. But he brought me on my first bass tournament. He called a buddy of mine, and he's like, "Hey, bass fishing's not really my thing," but he's like, "I got a friend." So it was through a friend of a friend. And then I fished a Lake Sarah Open with him. And he was just hoping that I didn't show up with a couple of Zebco 33s or something. When I showed up I only had 2 bait casters at the time, but he was tickled that I showed up with bait casters. And I actually beat him that day out of the back of his boat. I think I put 3 or 4 keepers in the boat.
Nice. Yeah, I just went to Lake Sarah for the first time a couple of weeks ago here. That was kind of fun. It's a little bit tough. I saw no tournaments, but there was a USA Bass in there, and he's like, "We had the most boats ever, 27." I'm like, "Oh man, okay."
They had a lot of boats, but it only took like 9.5 pounds to win that tournament or something like that. That lake is usually not like that. So for a Thursday nighter, they have a 4-fish limit, and it sometimes takes 16 to 20 pounds to win that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the first tournament was like 25 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then 9.13, that was the second tournament. That was the lowest winning weight ever, I think they said. And I'm not sure when I was there, but yeah, it was cool. I saw grass. I don't see grass in Shelbyville or really Wren much at all. Yeah. So that was, whoa.
The grass there used to be very prolific. And I'm not sure if it's from spraying homeowners or what, or just natural. I'm not real sure. But the grass is not near what it was, but it's still there.
Yeah. Yep.
That was my favorite lake for the longest time. I mean, before I started running the Mattoon tournaments, I used to fish down there just about every Thursday night.
Oh, so you run Lake Mattoon tournaments?
I used
Your
to. I did it
team?
for about
Oh,
5 or
okay.
6 years, I believe, the Lake Mattoon Bass Club.
Oh, okay. That's probably where you met Jim. I think he might have said that to me once before.
I actually, I mean, my dad knows Jim, and I've got a friend that knows Jim that introduced me to him. But I want to say the first time I met Jim was probably at a BFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I drew him last year on Shelbyville here. We had a great time. Great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And a member of the club here. I just got this channel kind of up and going last year. I'm just like, oh, that, a Tin Horse Money guy. That looks cool. I'll give that a try. It looks fun. And
Mm-hmm.
I get more and more into editing and thinking about the videos and stuff here. My fishing has gone down the tubes, but hey,
Yeah.
I'm calling it like a sports guy. This is my slump year. Okay, it'll be better next year, like the Cubs.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So,
from what I've seen, you're doing a pretty good job.
not this year.
You can't judge it by 1 year.
Oh no, you can't.
Like I feel like last year I didn't have a very good year in the BFLs either. I blanked the first tournament on Shelbyville, and I don't know. I just wanted to go bury my head in the sand after that one.
Yeah, you got to realize. I mean, the sport's a lot tougher than you think it is. It's a lot about skill, but there is still an element of luck. No matter how good you are, how much you know about the lake, if you practice or not, what's going on, what the bass should be doing, the spots that should be good or were good 2 days ago or last weekend, and you just go out there and you can draw a blank, or you can like have them on and they just all jump off and you land all the shorts. That's what I've been doing. I've been killing the 13 inches this year.
that happens sometimes, especially here in Illinois.
Well, yeah, that was, you go down to LBL and it's just like, man, worth the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So we got Lake Shelbyville coming up here. So you're doing a little bit better this year. I forgot to see where you're sitting at this year.
I'm sitting in third so far this year.
Sweet.
Rand went okay, so I had the smallest fish of everybody, but
you had a fish.
I mean,
my God, I cannot believe how tough that tournament was.
I fished for 3 days really hard, and I got 2 bites, and they happened to both come during the tournament. So one was a keeper, one wasn't. So
wow. Yeah, I heard some guys talking afterwards, and other than here and there, I think the common theme was, they were not up in the bushes. You should have been fishing the old shoreline is where people were catching them. And I'm like, oh yeah, the one time I had a miss, I was throwing in back of the boat as the Cohen. That was probably the old shoreline. Duh, I should have thought about that day.
Yeah, that's thinking back now. That's probably where mine come from.
Yeah. What'd you get bit on, if you don't mind sharing its history?
I was just flipping a beaver. I mean, everybody does that down there. It works down there. It just nothing was working that week. Yeah.
And then let's see, Shelbyville. You must have done well on this last Shelbyville. I
got second.
Nice.
There's another 4-ounce loss there.
I've
got a couple seconds by 4 ounces, but this time it was to Bobby McMullen, which is 82 years old. So rather than being embarrassed about getting beat by an 82-year-old, I'm super happy for him.
Man, totally. I saw that. I drew him out on Paducah a few years ago. Really, really nice guy. And I didn't quite realize how old he was until I went back and looked at a bunch of FLW stuff and read something somewhere. And I went, wow, I can't believe he's still doing it. Man, I hope I am still kicking it and doing it when I'm his age.
Yeah, he's doing really good for being that old. I would have never guessed that. I think I read that or heard that on maybe the MLF podcast or something like that he was that old. But
I went
great.
back and
I hope that I'm there and still winning tournaments when I'm 82. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, still this side of the daisies. That's what I'm hoping for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I missed the end of that one too, but yeah, that was a tough day. It was doing okay beforehand. I went out and practiced. My boater was Ethan Fields. He's doing pretty good in the opens, I think. Yeah. And we went to his areas and it was nothing. That weather turned. It got cold. Wind came out of the north, kaboom, you know. But I thought because of this overcast and rain, it would be okay. It's probably better than it would have been, but
I had a couple spots in practice that I had a couple bites, but I was hoping for 10 to 11 pounds. I didn't. I wasn't even 100% sure that I could get 10 to 11, and then I ended up with just shy of 14. So most of them were cookie cutters. I didn't get any. I think my biggest fish in that was a 3.17, and wound up with just under 14 pounds. So you can do the math on that. I mean, they were all pretty close to being the same size.
Well, yeah, I saw a lot of guys. A lot of boaters were coming in with 5, and they were just all around 2 pounds, right?
Yep.
Plus minus, just that size of fish. That, you know, if there's some of them were still spawning. I know my guy had a couple on a bed, and one came loose. Is probably about a 4-pounder. Kind of, he was bumming.
That's something I've been able to do.
I
don't think I've ever seen a bedded fish on Shelbyville. I'm sure I've caught a few bedded fish, but not that I've actually seen or knew that were there. So,
yeah, I was surprised. I was out the day before, and I went to, Friday, and I went to the back of a bunch of coves and nothing. Oh, actually, I was with Jerry that time. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were looking, and we had we scouted a bunch of the coves, and maybe they were a little deeper, but we really found them in 6 to 8 feet. Probably what you noticed there. They weren't really far back.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything deeper than 2.5 foot, you'd have a hard time seeing them there. As green as the water usually is. I mean, it's a lot of times clear, but it's got a stain to it.
Oh yeah. Let's see here. James got a comment for you. Can you read that?
Yeah. Bass population on Shelbyville over the last couple of years. So I've been doing better on Shelbyville, but I think that's just me kind of developing or getting more experience on it. It probably comes down to time on the water. If you talk to biologists in Illinois, they all say that just about every lake in the state is cyclical. So they prefer not to stock bass. I don't know if they think it's a waste of money or if they think it's detrimental, but they prefer not to stock bass. The population, I don't know. I feel like it probably is a little bit cyclical, but I don't feel like it's any worse the last couple of years as it was when I started 10 years ago. Now, 20 years ago, I wasn't fishing Lake Shelbyville very much, so I can't really speak to how good it was 20 years ago. But I've heard of, just the other day, a friend of mine was saying that they had 21 pounds in the tournament, and they kind of got off the water early, and they went to the gas station to get a drink and some soda, and they come back, and somebody, I want to say that they had 21 pounds or something like that, or 20 and a half pounds, pretty well thought they had tournament one, and somebody come in and weighed like 22 pounds. So it evidently has its years, where there's multiple 20-pound bags, but 20-pound bags are pretty rare nowadays.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that might have something to do with the pressure too. It's hard to say.
Yep. It's a combination of everything. The recruitment, the other thing I'm reading about the lakes, and we were talking about it, is just both Shelbyville and Wren were dammed up about 71, 72, 73. And all the natural structure is becoming silted over, and all the natural cover is kind of deteriorated, and everyone's trying to get, the fish beds and crappie beds or the combo cubes or whatever, something rock piles. And I know they put like $12 million of riprap, and they put rock piles in, and anything to help recruit the bass and, keep them healthy here, because it's definitely going downhill.
Yeah. I know. So we were in the high school state tournament. I want to say that's been a week and a half ago now. And there was to make the top 10 in a high school tournament, I think that you had to have over 10 pounds. So it has its days. it definitely has its tough days, but I don't think it's doing too terribly bad.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I haven't looked at the historical weights here. I seem to personally, I thought I did better a handful of years back, but I was like only shallow, and there was more bigger laydowns. And when they put on our riprap in, I don't know if you remember, they pulled out some great laydowns, ones that you don't see, you got to know about, and they pull them out and put them back to riprap. Man, I was so bummed when I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you coach a high school team? Yeah,
I do.
right?
I coach Windsor Stu Straws. It's a co-op between Windsor schools and then Stewart's and Strasburg.
And how long you been doing that?
3 years.
That's awesome. So, what kind of commitment is that? And I think that's a cool thing to do, and totally respect it.
So as far as a commitment, I'm probably not the best coach in that. There's a lot of coaches that'll take their kids to tournaments every week, but I like to fish on my own still.
Yeah.
With the youth tournaments, I mean, you just kind of sit there and watch them fish. I mean, you can verbally coach them through anything, but you're not actually fishing yourself. So I do still like to partake in that quite a bit myself. As far as the IHSA part goes, which is what the school really expects me to do, and I do more than just the IHSA, but that is the one big to do every year. So this year they started with a regional, and then if you advance from the regional, you move to a sectional, and then the state. So it's really 3 tournaments is kind of the possible minimum commitment. But we also fish a couple local opens just to get some practice in. So there's no replacement for time on the water. I do some gym practices, like in the wintertime when it's kind of too crappy to be outside, to teach them how to flip and pitch and tie knots and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know, as far as the amount of hours, I'm not real sure what the commitment is. And
I didn't know if it was like, okay, every Wednesday night from 5 to 7 you do something, or if there's any set schedule, or you go practice every other weekend, or.
It's kind of up to me on that.
Gotcha.
So,
And then as far as boats underwater, what I understand, most of them, they can't drive boats. You have to have like boat captains and dads and people like you that take them out, right?
Yes. So they're allowed to run the trolling motor, but they're not allowed to run the big motor.
Right. And then when you're in a tournament, how much can you actually coach them or strategize or
you can, so in a tournament, every tournament that we have been in, you can verbally coach them through anything but you're not allowed to touch anything. So that's the big thing. There is some tournaments where you're allowed to net the fish. If they get a backlash, you can get it out for them. But when it comes down to the IHSA competition, the primary competition that we focus on, we're not allowed, like it's strictly hands off. We can't net fish. We can't cull fish. If one gets deep hooked or they catch a toothy critter or something like that, that's,
on Shelbyville, that's going to happen.
Yeah. Especially on Shelbyville, but very little intervention when it comes to regular bass fishing. Like if they get snagged, it's expected to get them unhung, themselves to get unhung themselves and all that stuff. So they have to tie their own knots.
What about actual areas?
So areas, we can tell them exactly where to fish.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, we can tell them, be like, hey, you need to spot lock here and cast there.
Right. But that's just part of it.
You don't have to do that. I mean, like,
right.
To kind of learn on their own, But if they're fishing a point and where there's kind of a sweet spot on a point, either a hard spot or a stump or something like that, be like, hey, you need to kind of use the trolling motor, look around a little bit. Or, I've got live scope and 360 on my boat, so I'm like, kind of pay attention to your electronics and look where you need to be casting.
Yeah. Kind of trying to push them in the right direction with telling them exactly, because you're trying to teach more than anything, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
ultimately, I feel like our job as high school coaches is not necessarily to try to win everything that's around, but if you can get them some recognition to get them to college fishing, and teach them the stuff that's going to come in useful in college. So I wouldn't necessarily try to teach live scope, but in the limited amount of time that I have with them, I mean, that's just something that they're going to have to learn how to do until they, I don't know if they'll ever ban live scope fishing in college, just because that's a way for younger kids to learn fishing a whole lot faster, is to have,
absolutely.
A little bit of feedback without actually catching fish, to see what you're doing and all of that. It's just something that you gotta learn these days when you're younger.
Oh yeah. I mean, just YouTube now, it's unbelievable what you can learn. I mean, like you said, nothing replaces on the water, but what you can YouTube now, it's unbelievable. And I imagine they use all the kids that are really into it, they've been watching them all the time, right?
Yeah. I try to push them that way, because there's no way that I can spend enough time with them. And even obviously one guy in bass fishing does not know everything. One guy in bass fishing will never know everything. Yeah. I have a very limited amount of knowledge. And I'm like, the best thing you can do is try to learn a little bit from everybody. Right. You don't want to try to be exactly like me, because if you're ever fishing against me, we're going to be fishing the same stuff, doing the same thing all the time. So try to learn something from everybody. And I still try to do the same thing. Like I don't hardly listen to music anymore. I listen to podcasts nonstop when I'm driving in a truck or something like that.
Yeah, me too. What do you do to pay the bills?
I work for EJ Water. It's a local water company. We're rural water mostly. So I work around water. And my family calls me a water boy.
The water boy, Adam. Okay. Mr. Sandler.
Yeah.
We got another question here.
They will hit topwater on Shelbyville. I'm going to say when it comes to walking baits, I've heard of people catching them on walking baits. I've never done that myself. Buzz baits, or like a raid shad, something like that. Or probably a whopper plopper. I'm not a huge plopper fan, but yeah, buzz baits would probably be my number one topwater bait on Shelbyville. It's very circumstantial, though. I mean, I feel like the conditions got to be right. It usually helps when the water's high.
Yeah. This weekend I did an absolute first on Lake Pena. It's had no grass since I've been there 10 years. I got a little place on Lake Pena. It's a little 200-acre lake, 20 miles away from Shelbyville. And they fixed the water treatment plant. It was 50 years old. They got a $3 million grant from the government to put up $1 million. And oh my God, how much, the water got cleaner. The glowing nuclear green algae in August went away. And I'm like, oh my God, what were we swimming in? And actually a little grass would start to grow. It's been a couple of years, but when it gets dirtier in summer, it gets dirty and dies. But each year it seems to get a little better. So I'm like, oh my God, there's a bunch of grass. I've tried, but I've given up. I've never caught a frogfish on Lake Pena. Had one this weekend. And that, I got the old buzz bait out too here and caught the first few fish here. It's just been such a funky year. It's been, it's hot early, then it was cold. And every time it gets warm for a few days, you think it's about to go. And then that storm comes in and the north, cools off and goes to the north. So I don't think we're going to have that problem this weekend. It's going to be blazing Hades, 95.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we're going to go from 70 degrees to 90. There's no 80s. I prefer the 80s. But
yeah, music too.
But 90s country when it comes to that. But yeah.
Oh yeah. And topwaters on Shelbyville. I've caught a few on poppers, but the muskie love those topwaters. The walking baits, I stopped throwing them. The muskie just kill them. And then before a tournament a few years ago, it was kind of cloudy, starting to get a little windy. I was throwing a speed wake over some points, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm winning the tournament tomorrow. Weather changed, forget that. Didn't get a bite on it the next day,
That lake will definitely do that.
Conditions. The what?
A wind change is a big thing on that lake.
Yeah, big time. Big time. What about Rend? You catch them on top water at Rend?
Again, buzzbait. But
yeah, buzz.
When it comes to top water, buzzbait's kind of my number one thing. I do throw a frog every once in a while. I'm not a huge topwater guy.
Yeah. Well, in our kind of dirty, hot water, shallow kind of white lakes, I mean, you can't beat a buzzer, right?
Yeah. If we had a little bit of grass, some submergent vegetation or moss or something like that, I'd be more apt to throw like a frog more than a buzzbait. But a buzzbait's just one of those baits that you can cover a lot of water with and hopefully get a reaction strike.
Yeah. Yep. So, geez, I think, we should be full on summer pattern here by next week, probably, right? I started to see the change.
I would think so. So I would think that they're probably starting to pull out. There's going to be some shallow fish. There's always shallow fish.
Oh, there always is, yeah.
But I feel like there's also always deep fish. Now, they might only be on one or two different spots on the lake. But if I had to guess, the primary pattern for this weekend will be offshore.
I'm expecting to see
secondaries, but yeah, it'll be offshore.
I'm expecting to see the boats on all the good points, just rotating all day like they normally do, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't get out there. I was going to go out there on Friday, but I'm like, I don't mind rain at all. In fact, I think it's good fishing weather. But when they say thunderstorms, I don't like being in the middle of Lake Shelbyville with lightning,
Yeah. I especially don't like it because my co-angler's usually a little bit shorter than me. So I feel like
the lightning rod
is going to hit me.
Yeah. Oh, God himself couldn't hit a 2-iron, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So I didn't go, but I was thinking summer pattern, and my lake's got some points. I didn't catch anything. Well, I caught a couple of dinks. I had a deep crank, an XD5 in the 10 to 16 foot here. I was starting to see the shad bait balls out there. So, if you see those guys wandering out there, there's going to be bass around, but they weren't really out there yet. But in a week of warmth, that can change like that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. And I feel like, I don't know. I feel like we had a trickle spawn this year. In other words, some of the bass would come up and spawn a little bit at a time. Like it wasn't some big wave where everybody noticed the spawn happening all at one time. Like I think,
big time.
I think for the first BFL, we were catching pre-spawn fish and post, and spawning fish and post-spawn fish all at the same time. And I actually think that some of the fish probably just finished spawning here in the last week or so, if I had to guess.
Yep.
It's going to be. It should fish rather large because like I said, I think that there'll be some shallow fish and some offshore fish.
Yeah, for sure.
It shouldn't be a straight up summertime where everybody's trying to fish the same points.
Yeah, that's true. We hope. Wondering how many boats are even going to be there here. The turnout's been so low this year.
I know, crazy. And I don't know what to attribute that to. But yeah, I'm hoping that we start picking up. Actually, I mean, I'm hoping that we get it back up to that 70, 80 boat number, at least. Anyway,
at least.
I mean, I'd love to see 100 boats again. When I fished my first BFL, there was 144 boats.
Wow.
So, and Rend was just like it was this last time that we fished it. It was horrible, and still 144 boats showed up. Wow. I don't know. I don't remember how many boaters caught fish in that tournament, but there was 27 co-anglers. So even with that tournament, I believe that there were some checks that got split up among the co-anglers that caught fish. That they didn't get to pay out all the spots that they intended on paying.
Yep. Yeah, quite a challenge. Mm-hmm. And they were saying the water was still high for forever because they just got a spillway, nothing controlled there.
Yeah.
And there's so much reserve up in the wetlands.
So they have like a low water to get it back down to regular pool. and then they have a high water spillway that'll dump it really fast. And it was still going over the high water spillway whenever we were there, and that's because obviously everybody knows that they closed the lake for a couple of days leading up to the tournament, and then opened it up, I believe, on Wednesday right before it, but it had dropped a foot, so in like a day or so. When it gets below, I don't remember the numbers. I want to say 410 or 411 rings a bell, but maybe that might be wrong. But like the last 5 foot of their upper pool, it goes a whole lot slower because it's a notched spillway.
Yeah. Let's see. We have the Macho Man asking you some questions here.
Okay, so baits and colors for flipping, I'm pretty boring when it comes to that. Like I really like green pumpkin and beavers, like a beaver style bait. That could be just a regular sweet beaver, a Z-crawl, a D-bomb, but mostly green pumpkin. If the water is really dirty, like Ren gets sometimes, I'll switch to a black and blue, but I keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, some people are just so into color, and some people are like, I don't think it matters. It's so amazing, right?
Mm-hmm. As far as the particular bait, like the techniques or rigs or whatever, I'm a big Texas rig guy, even though I make jigs kind of on the side. And I throw a jig, but I throw a Texas rig probably a little bit more than a jig.
Yeah, I've been experimenting. I got some of those Ozark rigs later in the year last year, and I was throwing them more this year, finding some interesting stuff. Have you ever tried it? You ever seen that setup?
I guess you'll have to inform me what an Ozark rig is.
It's Matt Steffen and Johnny Schultz from Fish the Moment. I don't know if you watch any of his stuff. He's like big sonar guy, but it's a hook, and on the shaft of the weight of the hook is the weight. So if you say you put it in a tail or a creature or a beaver, what it does, as opposed to just kind of sinking, it's got that kind of floating, hovering, not the hover rig. That's another one they have for minnows.
It's something similar to that, though, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind
of like a belly weighted swim bait hook or something, but your Texas rig, it's all plastic.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess I haven't tried that, but
yeah,
I can see how that would work.
And like anything else, baits are kind of cyclical. Like chatterbaits came out. Oh my God, I killed them. And then after 3 or 4 years, it's like I couldn't get a bite on one because everyone was throwing one all the time. Put it down. Now the last year or two, okay, I've been catching fish on chatterbaits again. But it, just kind of, if you stay with the trot.
That's kind of how it was for me with a jackhammer. It was really good until I guess everybody decided to spend $20 on a bait because it was winning a tournament. And then now you I don't think that you can win a tournament with a jackhammer anymore.
Yeah. Well, maybe down at Gunnersville.
That's possible.
And then worms, you got to throw worms. Everyone throws worms, right?
Yeah. I throw them a little bit. I mean, like I said, I grew up like that's what I started on with 7.5-inch worms. And if I pick up a worm now, it's most likely a 10-inch worm.
Yeah, me too. I go small or big. The mill's kind of Yep. What about tubes? I know the guys have been doing pretty well on tubes, but a lot of guys fish Illini and LBL on here, or some fish Illini and Ozark. Some fish a little bit of all three here. And the guys have been doing pretty good on tubes.
I could definitely see how the tubes are good. So I've gotten away from tube fishing just because I won my first BFL as a co-angler. I guess the only BFL that I won was on a tube. Most of it, I believe, was on a tube anyway. That was down at Golconda. The very next year I was down there, and I probably lost a tournament on a tube. Like I probably got the bites to do really well, if not win, and I lost them. So, I mean, I had a problem with hook.
Couldn't keep them hooked up, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I threw a tube, I like to rattle in it, and when it just balls up so bad, and I I lost a lot of fish. I mean, to the point where my boater's like, I don't know what the heck you're doing wrong, but you're doing something wrong.
I got to listen to that.
Yeah.
Some days it just happens, some days you hook them all, and some days you can't keep any of them attached. You're like, it's got to be me. What am I doing different? You can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, it's obviously noticeable sometimes when they're just one hook, just barely lip hooked, they're kind of finicky, right? Or you feel them chomping at it, and you go to set the hook, and they're never there, and you got to wait, and right?
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like there's some days where everything goes right, and some days where everything can go wrong too. So I don't know if you call that luck or just the way that they're biting that day, but yeah, if I can catch them on something else other than a tube, I would prefer to catch them on something other than a tube. My confidence level is much higher when I'm not throwing a tube. But
yeah, you mainly use plastics.
Bite to catch ratio.
Crankbaits, or you still use a crankbait around here, or?
Yeah, I throw a crankbait. I've won 2 big bass awards in the BFLs, and both of them were on crankbaits. Yeah. And to be honest, I probably throw a crankbait less than 1% of the time.
Wow. Spinners, chatters?
I like throwing a spinnerbait, and I'll throw a chatterbait, but I probably prefer a spinnerbait these days. It just comes through cover better.
Yep.
But yeah, I'll throw a crankbait like a square bill or a deep diver, but man, I don't like to. I'm not sure why. Because, like I said, it's won me some money in the past, but I don't throw it a whole lot.
Yeah.
With all the fishing line that's in Lake Shelbyville, it's hard to throw crankbaits on that lake.
I was pulling up a fishing line this weekend myself. Or you got to take the chance here. You got to be out on those points with stumps or rocks, and you want to go right by the stump, but those crankbaits, they'll get hung up in it.
Yeah. I know probably the last time that I threw a crankbait on Shelbyville was probably I had fished this point and caught a couple fish doing other things, football jig or a Carolina rig or a 10-inch worm. And then I just got tired of dragging stuff. I'm like, I just need to do something else when I feel like there's still fish there. And then I'll throw a deep diving crankbait, if it's deep enough. Yeah. And that's actually how I caught that big bass. I want to say 2 or 3 fish on this one point, and I'm like, I just need to do something different for a while. So I actually got in my rod locker, got out. I don't remember if it was a 5XD or a 6XD, but bombed it out there, and I want to say it was my second or third cast. I caught one over 5, which was big bass for that tournament. So,
if they're out there and you put a crankbait by them, they can't resist it. They're usually right on it. You don't got to stay there long.
I probably threw 100+ casts on it before.
Yeah,
with other things on that same line. So
yeah, well, nothing vertical.
I'll throw a drop shot once in a while, but only when I'm really hard up for any kind of bite.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times too windy or too wavy at on them points to throw something finessey. And if I can catch them doing something else, I prefer that. I'm not a huge finesse fisherman.
Finesse isn't fun.
It doesn't feel like it's fun. I've got a friend that he gives me some crap because I'm actually trying to figure out a way to get away from spinning reels. And I build rods for myself on the side, just buy the blanks and put the guides on them. And my next rod that I'm going to build is going to be something like a BFS kind of setup.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I experimented with that a little bit, but I got a retention pond right, by my home here. And it's just like, hey, if I can't do anything, I can walk over there in five minutes. And sometimes you can catch 3-4 pounders. Sometimes it's 6 inches. But hey, I got an hour. What can you do? I can walk down to the pond and get some exercise.
Yeah.
And I got a little BFS set up for that. It's pretty cool. You pick out a reel for that already?
I did. I bought a used Shimano. I'm not even sure the model, BFS. But it's their BFS setup, and the reel itself is phenomenal. The drag that leaves a whole lot to be desired. After coming off of your higher end spinning reels. So the spinning reels that I have are my favorite spinning reels are the Vanfords, and they've just got a buttery smooth drag system. and the BFS reel, it's not so buttery smooth. I hooked a gar the other day, and with that BFS system, I don't have the right rod for it yet, but I was throwing it anyway. And I fought it. I mean, it was probably a 4-foot gar, and I was leaning into it pretty hard, and it actually did pretty good. I don't know if I trust it with a smallmouth, a 4-pound smallmouth, but
right. Oh, right.
A gar,
yeah.
I mean, you could hear it. It's an audible drag, kind of like a spinning reel. So it's just it's more zzz, zzz, zzz versus solid pulling.
All right, we got the nest question here. Asking for your Nostradamus side for the predictions for this weekend.
I mean, post-spawn is always a wild card. So I'm going to say that somebody is going to sack them. I don't think that it's.
I think so too.
I think that it's probably going to take 17, 18 pounds.
That's exactly what I was going to say. 17 to 18 to win on the boater side.
There's just,
but definitely over 15.
Yeah, I mean, there's already been a couple over 6 weighed in this year, in the USA Bassins and the ABTs. So I'm going to say it's definitely over 15. If you got over 15, you got a shot. But I'd be surprised if it took anything less than 17. Co-side, that's 3 fish. That's kind of a wild card there too. I could see that taking 11 pounds. 10,
11. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So as far as getting a check, that's always what I try to, it's always fun to think about what it takes to win, but a lot of times we're out there just trying to get a check. We don't come across the fish that's required to win very often, but just about everybody out there's got an opportunity to go out there and cash a check if they can put some fish in a boat.
Just execute. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say 9 pounds, 9.5 pounds to get a check on the boater side. I think that there's going to be a little bit of a spread because it's post-spawn.
Yeah, there'll be people in the wrong, there'll be blanks and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, blatant advertisement. I lost my link. If anyone knows a boater looking for a link, I'd like to link up with someone. I registered very early, like within the first couple of days, so I feel good, but I'm linkless right now. So putting the feelers out, anybody, let me know. Hey, I got a question on text here. One of our guys, Dustin Miller here, is not on the computer. He's on the TV. He doesn't have the keyboard. He's asking, does Pat prefer a round bend EWG hook or just a straight shank worm hook by his Texas Reds?
So I usually use the straight shank flipping hooks made by VMC, the Ike approved VMC hooks, and a 4/0 for a full size beaver, and a 3/0 for junior or smallie beaver.
Yeah.
And almost always a 1/4 ounce weight.
Yeah, if you're really deep, you might want a little more.
I'll sometimes, if I'm fishing really deep on Shelbyville, is probably one of the only places I'll do it. I'll step up to a 3/8. But yeah, I'm not a huge 1/2 ounce guy.
Yeah,
if I'm dragging a 3/8 worm on points, I'll go up to 1/2 ounce. But
yeah.
I've always joked with my people who have asked me what size of weight are you throwing. I'm like, well, there's only 3 sizes of weight. There's 0.25 ounces, there's a 1/4 ounce, and then 1/4.
my brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl. All right, Mark, I hope you're one of those guys. And speaking for a tiny bit of a segue here where people get a couple more questions here. We got guys from the LBL and we got guys from the Ozarks here. Hey, why don't you drop in how you did here? I heard it through the grapevine here. We had some good showings this weekend. Have you fished any of those lakes, Pat? Been down to Kentucky Lake and or finished any of the Ozarks lakes?
Well, a couple. I haven't been to the Ozark lakes. We've fished the Kentucky Lake a few times for either regionals or it wasn't last year, 2 years ago, I believe we had
2 years ago. Yep.
Down at Kentucky, and I have never done any good down there. But I've never really had the opportunity to fish it when the grass was good down around Paris. And ever since I've been fishing it as a boater, it was post invasion from the carp. So last time we were down there, I actually had a youth tournament on Sunday of the super tournament, and I'm like, I'll be back. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to do very good down there, but I think I was like second or third in point. I think I was second in points. Maybe I was third in points to Garrett McDowell. And then I think Colby Shrimp was the other one ahead of me. But I'm like, I got to go down there and do what I can for points. Garrett is a stick down on Kentucky, so I pretty well knew I wasn't going to be able to beat him. But there was just a glimmer of hope. I've always wanted to win the points, and I've come really close quite a few years, but I've never got it done. So, but I told him I'd be back on Sunday, not to worry about it, and I actually ended up in third, I think, on day one. But obviously, I burned all everything that I found in practice. It took me 2 days to find what I had, and I burned it all down just to make it to day two. And I ended up falling to 11th. But I did learn a whole lot while I was down there the last time. So I'm kind of looking forward to it this year, but it's still one of those lakes that I don't have extensive experience on.
Yeah, it's a big lake. I finished that division as a co last year, so I kind of got a little bit of a tour, feeling better about it. Got practice a couple of times. Was doing the Toyota series this year, so I had a few days on it. Now I'm starting to, okay, I've been here 2 or 3 times. I recognize that point. Oh, that bay, I know there's a good, it takes a while because it's just so big, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so many different ways to fish it.
There is. I know one day for practice, I usually only take 2 days to practice any of the regular season tournaments. For the regionals, I try to get 2.5 days in. But I know one of the whole days, every time that I've ever been down to Kentucky Lake, I've always tried to go over to Barkley, and I got to stop doing that.
Yeah,
that's kind of a whole different animal. It doesn't fish anything like Lake Shelbyville. The last time I was down there, when I finally made it to the Kentucky side, I fished it a little bit like Shelbyville, intended to do a whole lot better. So I'm kind of looking forward to spending 2 days, fishing it like I would here at home.
Yeah. So you go down before, you'll just go down 2 days just before, or will you make another trip down there before the super to get a little more practice in?
I'll just go down just before that tournament.
Yeah.
The day job kind of prevents me from doing all that, and I got kids in sports, and
geez, then it's really tough.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
I got a 11-year-old and a 17-year-old.
God, boy, I remember those days, just dropping this kid off at that sport, dropping this one off over here, calling the wife saying, you get that one, I'll get this one, you get dinner, you do right. Yep. And by the time dishes are done, it's 8:30 and you're like, I'm ready for bed.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I used to fish just about every day of the week when I could, like night tournaments. You find a night tournament somewhere, and those days are about long gone. I think I fish one night tournament a week now. So
yeah. I haven't even heard of any. Painted Lake's got a Wednesday nighter with the club. I mean, 5 or 6 boats maybe, but I'm not down there. I actually still live and work in St. Louis. Do they have like Wednesday nighters on Shelbyville or anything?
I have heard rumors about Wednesday nighters on Shelbyville. I'm not sure if they're still having those. But Wednesday nighters, there's one on Lake Mattoon every week. Thursday nighters is on Lake Sarah. Tuesday nighters are on the Embroil River or Charleston Lake. They kind of pick and choose which side they're fishing there. I think Mondays are on Paris. And I don't think that they're still going on, but I remember like the first bass tournament I ever won was a Friday nighter on Sam Park, which is down by Newton, the other Newton Lake.
Yeah, interesting. Let's see. Eric's asking, if you're a Cole, what one ride would you take?
Obviously it would be medium heavy, moderate fast action, probably a 7 to 7.3 length, depending on that. And it's something that you'd be able to use for everything. But if you were only able to tie one thing on it, it would be a Texas rig for me.
Yep.
As a co, there might be better things. I mean, it depends on what your boater's doing. I wouldn't be doing the exact same thing that your boater's doing most of the time. But I know a lot of times they'll throw a Nico or a shaky head or something behind their boater, and
yeah,
good.
A Ned or shaky head, probably number one, number two. Sometimes Senkos, but it just, according to where you're fishing, they just take so long, and according to what your boater's doing, you can hardly get it down in the water sometimes, you know?
If he's burning down the bank, I mean, you can still flip, but you need something with a little bit of weight to it, like a jig or a Texas rig.
Yep, for sure.
Hopefully you get a boater that lets you take more than one rod, though.
Yeah. I was giving him shit about the challenge because he's like, all I've been doing is throwing X for a while. And I'm like, well, then why just do that? I mean, I've seen a couple of YouTubers about the one rod challenge to a cull.
Really?
People teasing him, but he's just like, okay, I accept the challenge.
Yeah, we've all got that. I've got, I don't know, so much tackle in my boat, and I usually always wind up catching them on the same thing. So.
Yeah. I'm a guitarist, and for years it's called GAS, Guitar Acquisition Syndrome, or Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And all you do is buy and sell. Same thing with tackle. You got to tackle along, you try the new things out. But before you know it, most of the time you're not whacking them. You're like, back to the old standard. What do you like to do? You like to flip, or you like to do crankbaits? Usually is just the way people like to power fish, right?
Yeah, I've got a wall full of tackle that some of it's surplus, but some of it's probably stuff that'll never see the water.
Yeah. I mean, Facebook Marketplace, there's tons of stuff. I picked up a lot of stuff first, and it's just like, okay, so many packages of these things, and you pick them up a few years later. They're better than they used to be. They used to be like, oh, this thing's starting to disintegrate or something years ago, right? I mean, other than classic stuff. And it's just like, oh, wow. I don't remember even catching anything on those. Throw them away, right?
Well, I know I got a problem when I got a co-angler that whoops my butt out of the back of my boat or catches a fish that I think I should have caught. I'm going to have 10 of those next time you see me.
That's Brad Thatcher. He should be on. He's got a history. He's down in Kentucky here, and he's been schooling the boaters lately.
Yeah, I watched part of that episode. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
He looks familiar too. Like I might have drew him out. Maybe it's just seeing you guys out on the water too. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. Eric, maybe I should take that challenge. My season's almost over. Maybe I should film the one rod challenge here. Now, what would it? Well, it'd be one rod, not one bait. I think I could do it on one rod. And since it's summertime, I shouldn't be too concerned about being finessey. I might consider that. Well, I'll have to see if I'm actually fishing this weekend or not, but I might consider that. So, you fish any other tournament series, or does this keep you busy in the Illini division?
I fish the USA Bassin.
Which one? Shelbyville? Yep.
And I'll jump into Lake Sarah one once in a while as well. And I also fish the ABT, American Bass Trail, on Shelbyville.
Oh, so you're yeah, okay.
I only live in 15 minutes from the lake, and having limited time to practice other bodies of water. I mean, I enjoy going somewhere else to fish. Like I enjoy fishing the BFLs, going to Wren Lake and the river. I was always a stay in the Smithland Pool kind of guy, and ever since we started taking off out of Paducah, I tried to learn the rivers a little bit more, so that was getting kind of interesting. We're not even hitting there, obviously, this year, but I'll enjoy going down to Kentucky Lake as well, just somewhere different. I'm okay with that. Yeah,
I hear you. My place in Pana, man, I pack up. I could be at Dab 9 in like 18 minutes or something, or a lot of times it gets busy down there and you get the crazy weekend boaters and stuff. And I like to fish the mid-lake areas. I've had a lot of good luck up there. Go to Eagle. I used to like Opossum, but man, it's so open there, man. If you're doing it by yourself, you could be in trouble trying to get on and off Opossum. And then USA Bassin last year. Well, one of the BFLs we went, way up north to like Wilborn, and the other one, way up there.
Whitley Creek. Yep.
Yeah, Whitley. Yeah, some different areas up there. Explore some different areas of the lake. Caught a couple up there, and then going east on is that the Okaw River comes in this way, Kaskaskia comes that way. Going back that way, I've never done
would be the
very
Okaw side, and then Whitley is the Kaskaskia side.
Yeah. And I know I've seen a lot of fish there. I think people told me there's a lot of walleye up there because it's kind of more river-like and shallow. But I know a lot of the guys are saying the walleyes are really starting to hit now too. And I don't eat bass. I sport bass, but I like eating walleye. Walleye's good.
I want to say, I'm not sure because I haven't caught any. I feel like the walleye is running a little bit late, like the bass. And I'll be surprised if there's not some guys fishing the BFL that catch some walleye during practice. So bring your fillet knife.
Yeah, for sure.
I know in practice I'll throw them in a live well. That's my stepson. He we go white bass fishing out there as well. Like after bass fishing's all done for the year, we'll get out there in October, November, and fish them. He was probably 5 years old or so whenever he did it, but somehow he picked out just the walleye out of the plate of fish that we had, and he ate all of it before I even got to sit down. I was still making all the fish. And then, by the time that he went to go eat the white bass, he's like, "This stuff isn't any good anymore."
What is this?
Yeah,
you can eat it, Dad. Dad's the human garbage can. Got to clean up everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, looks like Eric here did well at Truman here. Took 16th. All right, buddy. Just a basic setup. Yep, very, very limited. All right, yeah.
Awesome. That could work on Shelbyville. I mean,
oh yeah.
Like I said, a creature style bait and Texas rig. That's kind of my go-to thing.
Yeah, big old 10-inch power worm if you're out on points. Yep. Kentucky fishing pretty well. Lots of pressure. Yeah. It wasn't tough for Jacob Wheeler or Jake Lawrence.
They kind of made that look easy.
Yeah. I watched that. It's like, talk about a video game. My God. I mean, these guys got to be so good. I know they get their 3 days of practice, and they just go out there and graph, I think, for the most part. And man, there's a lot of water to cover because you never know where they are. But, man, they seem to be able to go out and graph them.
Those Tennessee River guys, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, each lake is a little bit different than the next. But for the most part, when it comes to the summertime patterns, that they must set up the same because you see those guys on top every time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. Wedges, shell beds, and, for – no secret here now that, it's the smallies have really, really dominated a lot of the bags down there. And last year, I mean, you'd have 3 to 4 pound smallies and maybe one, 4 pound largemouth or so. The winning bags were predominantly 3 to 4 smallmouth.
Yeah. I know last time I was down there, I had a mixed bag each day.
Yeah.
It was about 50-50, actually.
Yeah. Finding those, the right kind of shell beds. And I know they talk about, for the people that know the community holes, but when you're not down there, you don't know the community holes, right?
I need to be part of the community to know that.
Yeah. Or I was watching some of these, the videos I watched, probably, 30, 40 hours of Fishing Moment with Johnny Schultz. He really goes into how to use your electronics and how to fish deeper, and always been the shallow power guy. And it's really tough to be that patient, where he says he will go out there and he will scan for 3 or 4 hours before he even fishes to find the right spot and then nail them. But I'm like, man, I've tried that. I can't do it.
It's definitely hard. I've never been able to do that.
Yeah.
I do probably more map study than
Right.
actually side scanning. And I'm not saying that I do map study at home a whole lot. I get on the lake, and if it's a lake I'm unfamiliar with, I'll try to pick out a couple points or ledges or something like that look like they might hold fish, and I'll pull up on them and I'll cast them. Like a lot of people will probably side scan them first. I fished a lot of dead water, I'm sure, by not scanning them first and actually making sure that there's fish on them or it looks the same way that it does on the map. But yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, that's the thing too here. I kind of fooled myself over the last year or two going, okay, I'm going to use my electronics, and they're nothing. And I'm like, they got to be out there somewhere. No, you got to really know what you're looking for. You got to have your settings right. You got to have the speed right. You got to take a couple of angles. And if you're not super good at it, you don't know until you throw something out there. Sometimes they're just sitting there on the bottom, or they're sitting there right in the cover. And you really almost have to be a total expert to see them until you start fishing them and they start coming up, or you get them jacked,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how many times that I've looked at stuff and been like, there's no fish here, but I'm going to throw a couple casts anyway and catch fish. So I don't trust my electronics when it comes to finding fish.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, no signs of life. Nah. But if you're always seeing bait fish. So one, there's got to be life in the area, typically.
Bait and structure.
Yeah. And then it's worth fishing to find the fish. I think,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Or even I just got the live scope a couple of years. It's just like, a lot of times, you know what? You see the structure. A lot of people use them for structure. Sometimes you see them swimming around the log. Sometimes you just flip in there and boom, you didn't even see them, right? They're just so hard to pick out sometimes.
Yep. I've tried actually live scoping fish on Shelbyville, and I'm pretty sure that I probably educated a bunch of carp.
Yeah. And catfish. There's some big catfish.
And catfish, yeah.
What's the biggest catfish you've caught on Shelby?
I actually didn't get it in. I called my dad. This was probably before I was tournament fishing. It was right after I got my first boat when I was 18. I was white bass fishing, and I hooked a big flathead on a 2-jig rig. Everybody who fishes Shelbyville for white bass will know what that is, but it's just like a little 2-inch grub, 2 of them tied on the same line. And I caught it. It was somewhere up around Coal Shaft, and the tail was bigger than my face. I mean, the width of it. So It was a big one. I mean, it was probably the biggest catfish I'd ever seen in real life at that time. And I fought it, I don't know, for probably every bit of an hour. I didn't even have my net with me that day. I was white bass fishing. And I called my dad, and I'm like, how am I going to get this fish in? He was asking me how big it was. And I'm like, I don't know, but it's got to be like 70 to 100 pounds, I'm guessing. And he's like, you need to get that in. He's like, that might be some sort of record for the lake on hook and line or whatever. And so I fought it forever, and I tried to drag it up on bank. He's like, that's really the only chance you got is to get out of your boat and try to get it up on bank and go grab it and pull it up.
Yeah.
And I did that 2 or 3 times, and he would take off again. And I'm just using bass fishing gear. That's what I white bass fish with. It was my crankbait rod. And the last time I got out of the boat, he took one more, surge, and I decided I was getting tired of fighting him. So I pulled a little bit harder than I should have, and he actually straightened my hook out and got off.
Yeah.
It was huge. The biggest catfish I ever caught was only 14 pounds, though. So a lot of people think they catch 20-pounders until they actually put them on a scale, because I would have bet $100 that the fish I had was 30 pounds. And I put him on the scale, and he was 14.
Yeah. Wow. What about a muskie out of the Shelbyville?
I've caught some big ones. I've never weighed any. I'm gonna say I've never measured them, but I'm gonna say 36 inches. That's probably the biggest. So I feel like I've caught quite a few at 24 to 30 inches.
Yeah, there's a lot of babies, and that 36, 37, 38, 40. Yeah, that's about the biggest I've got. I don't want to get on my carpet. I don't want to get I got some long pliers. I just want to get my lure back and not even bring them in the boat.
One of the students on my team, I mean, he had one this big. Like it wouldn't have took anything to just grab it and unhook it, or even just shake them off with a pair of pliers. You know, it would have been pretty easy. But he actually put it on the carpet and stepped on it and unhooked it.
Oh,
Like, man, like there's going to be like slime on my deck for a long time.
And they have a unique smell. It's
They
kinda
do.
like
And he
pine or
realized
evergreen.
after he smelled that smell, I mean, it probably happened within a minute of him doing that. He's like, I shouldn't have done that. I wasn't going to
That's
say
okay.
anything, but next time, yeah, unless it's a record breaker, don't let it touch the carpet.
Yeah. That's okay. You can come over next Sunday. My boat needs a detailing.
Yeah. Well, my boat needs a detail really bad because, like, I bought it, so I've had the boat maybe a little bit over a year, and it was a brand new one. And earlier this year, and a USA Bassin, I guess I decided to baptize my boat with Spike It. I've got the sea deck in the cockpit area, and I spilled. Yeah, I dropped the whole bottle of Spike It on the floor, and it went everywhere. It's on the carpet, on the seats, and on the sea deck.
Oh. What are you running?
I'm running a F205 Falcon.
How do you like those?
It's a good boat. I really like them. They're built a little bit cheaper than like your Rangers and your Vexuses and your higher end boats, but they come with a much cheaper price tag. So if you ask me, you know, I'd rather have switches and an actual ignition rather than keypads and stuff that whenever they go out, they cost a bunch of money to have worked on or replaced.
Yep.
So,
yep.
I've
heard a lot of that.
It's got aluminum lids. It's long. It's wide. I really like it. It handles just as good, if not better, than my Ranger did in rough water.
Nice. So closing thoughts on next week here. So you going to get any practice in?
I think I'm taking Thursday and Friday off this week. And I don't know. I'm probably just going to go out there and try to find them offshore.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
I think
you're
that's
number 3 in
the
points here. You're in the hot seat for AOY. Maybe your turn is coming up this year.
That'd be great.
All righty. Any more questions for Pat here, guys? Here before we takes off. I know he had some stuff to do here and had limited time. Kind of quiet crew today. Okay, Pat. Thanks so much for coming out. We appreciate it. Come and say hi, shake my hand, and look after you afterwards. I'd love to draw you this weekend too and videotape you all day.
All right. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. And if you know any voters looking for a link or something happens, I'm looking.
I'm going to have to text my brother because he is a procrastinator. He might not have even signed up yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, everybody. That's a wrap for Monday night. Thanks for coming out. We'll definitely have a show next Monday. I don't know who the guest is yet here, but hopefully we have some good news for the crew from Lake Shelbyville. And I think we will be all rosy red like Pat's looking today here because it's going to be a blazer. Make sure you bring your chilly drinks and your sun protection. Always got to forget that sun jam. All right, guys. Take care. Keep your lines tight. See you next time.